is, you don't have to. You can literally interrupt somebody if you want to make a point of order. No second is needed, okay? Because you as a member of the body have the right to make this point of order. It's not debatable, it's not amendable, and no vote is required. Guess who decides on that point of order?
Who has the right to?
Anybody does, but guess who decides on the point of order? Who did I say was the king? The chair. All right, so you as the chair can rule on that. Okay? Yes?
So if somebody does a point of order, then they can just basically step up and just start speaking whatever's on their mind at that
But
point?
you as the chair have to be able to cut the law.
Okay.
Okay? It's not debatable, it's not amendable, doesn't require a vote. Someone can make a point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Sam, what do you want? What's the deal? And Sam says, I object because it's 98 degrees in here and we gotta, do whatever, Okay, Sam, we'll go fix the thermometer, and we'll move on. Or maybe Sam has an important comment, like there wasn't enough time for debate. I come back as the chair and say, well, Sam, we had a motion to move the previous question, which was not debatable, which we voted on. 2/3 decided to end debate. So then I say, you are out of order because your point of order was not taken. Okay. So again, the chair is the king. You can run the meeting. Now give Sam his due. Be respectful to Sam. Let him say what he wants to say, but cut him off. Don't let him go on and try to disrupt your meeting. You have to keep the meeting moving. All right, another thing to...
David, what if the problem is the chair? Like I'm thinking of a meeting where the chair refused to follow the agenda because he didn't want to talk about something. And so we said point of order, but he was the decision maker. What do you do then?
Well, you keep on, and you get the entire body to recognize that the agenda clearly had the item on the agenda, and he has missed that agenda item. And probably what I would do is I move that we follow the agenda, and then the chair has to, consider that motion to follow the agenda. It has to be seconded. It has to be discussion, and that's how you get discussion on the floor about following the agenda. See, the chair is the king, but the members, have the power to make sure that the chair doesn't just slip over something. Okay. All right, let's keep going because we are on kind of a time frame here.
Does the point of orders that are considered to be out of order, do those have to be recorded in the minutes, or is that?
A point of order probably would be recorded. But again, it depends on how detailed your secretary is.
Right.
Sometimes secretaries just take general, broad, conceptual outlines of the meeting. If it's a real formal meeting with lots of people, like a really important thing, then you're going to probably take a shorthand as a secretary, and every little thing that's said and discussed, motions that are made, seconds and all that will be recorded. It just depends. Depends on your meeting. Okay, to request important information. Again, a point of information is what you say. Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, point of information. That can be done. If it's urgent, you can actually interrupt the speaker. In other words, if there's a discussion going on and there's a huge piece of it missing, and everybody's clueless, and you recognize that, you can say point of information and ask for a clarification or an explanation, because it's important for everybody to understand what's going on for that piece of information to be put on the table. And again, no second is needed. It's not debatable, and no vote is required. That's sort of a privilege to get that point of information. Okay, what if you've been going on and on about something, you can't decide, and it's pretty obvious that we're not going to get to a resolution of something at this meeting? What you can do to suspend further consideration of something is to make a motion to table the matter. And you simply say that by saying, I move that we table this matter. It must be seconded, but interestingly, this one is not debatable. Okay? You have to vote on tabling without debate. Okay? You have to sit, even if you've got another motion on the floor, if someone, the motion is on the floor, someone moves to table that discussion, you have to vote on that right there without debate. Now, in order to do that, again, a majority is required. You've got to have a majority willing to table the to some people's thought. Tabling a matter does not mean that you're killing it. All right, now sometimes that's what it essentially means if it can't be brought up again at that meeting. But tabling it just means you're suspending consideration to some other time. Okay, that might be later in the meeting. It might be at the next meeting. It might be never. But the fact is that you're not going to spend any more time at that moment discussing that issue. It's basically being tabled. You're taking it off the discussion floor. Okay? Now, what about taking up a matter that's been previously tabled? You can actually do that. In order to do that, you have to be very clever. You have to move that you take it from the table. Again, that has to be seconded. So you got to make sure you do your homework and find somebody else that agrees with you that you want to remove something from the table. It's not debatable, and you have to vote on it, and you get a majority of those who saw it go away to agree that it should come back. Okay. So again, most everything takes a majority. A couple of things require a 2/3 majority. All right, to reconsider something, let's see, previously disposed of. All right, that means that you have to reconsider action. That must also be seconded. Now that is debatable against the original motion, and again, a majority is required. All right. Now we talked a little bit earlier about the agenda. It's important to have an agenda. All right. What if you need to consider something out of order? Okay. Basically, at that point, you have to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Is a majority required for both number 4 and number 5 on the list, or just on number 5?
I think a majority is required for most all. I think the only one we talked about that required 2/3 so far was the one that we talked about, the ending debate. Ending debate takes 2/3. Everything else is majority. Okay, what was I on? Considering something out of order. You have to have a motion to suspend the rules. Clearly, you can take something out of order. And most of the time in informal meetings, the chair will simply say, okay, John's not here, we're just going to, take up item D before E because John's not here, and then when John gets here, we'll consider E. Almost never is a problem, but formally in a meeting, if you were really following parliamentary procedure, you would want to have someone make a motion to, in fact, you're the chair, you would ask for basically a motion. May I have a motion to suspend the rules and take item D before item E? And somebody would make that motion, unless someone in the membership is new, to do that. But basically, that's how you would do that. All right, to complain about noise, temperature, or other matters. This is a point of privilege. Okay? Have you been sort of keeping track of all this? We've had a point of order, a point of privilege. A point of privilege is simply, as a member of the body, as a member of the organization, you would like to make a statement. The room is too small, or the room is too hot, or could we start on time next time, or next time let's not try to consider so much information in one meeting because it's gone on for 3.5 hours. A point of privilege is something that you have, a complaint or a suggestion, that sort of thing. You can interrupt the speaker to say this if it's important enough. No second is needed, and again, it's not debatable. And actually, no vote is required. Basically, this is just a speech. You're just making a statement. You want it known that you didn't like the room because it was too small. Or maybe you met in an auditorium and you had 5 people and you thought that the room was too big. Okay, that's what we mean by a point of privilege. Yes?
Can I go back to number 5?
Sure.
Would that be something that you've already voted on? Something that's been disposed of? Or is it just something that you've tabled and you never
Well,
have to?
it doesn't matter. You want to reconsider your action relative to a previous item.